Now, some people, of course, would deny that they fear death. But I think it would be true to say that many people fear dying, because that can be a very, very nasty business indeed. It can happen with a sudden shock, or it can be a low, lingering, agonizing experience. But either way, you confront your mortality, you confront your finitude, you confront the point where you can no longer do anything about it. I remember standing with a dear friend of mine as his wife was literally breathing her last, and he was one of these remarkable men who you could give him anything to do and he would do it and he'd get it done. He didn't know what no meant. He had no idea what can't be done meant. And as I stood with him as his wife were dying, with the tears streaming down his face, he said, for the first time in my life, I'm confronted with something I can't fix. That's death. Now, the anxiety that this causes pervades our life. It may be in terms of death, it may be in terms of dying, it may be in terms of disease. How is it that so many people go to supermarkets now and spend 3 times as long shopping? It is because they're reading all the small print on the packages. Why? Because they want to eat healthily. Why? Because they don't want to get sick. Why? Because they don't want to die. Why is it that we are so worried about the environment? One of the reasons we're worried about the environment is that with all the goop that is seeping into the earth and getting into our drinking water, and all the goop that is going into the air and getting into our lungs, we're saying to ourselves, we're going to get sick, so what? We're going to get sick, and we're going to get disease, and we're going to die. There's an incipient fear there in our lives. You say, well, I'm not worried about dying, and I'm not worried about disease, and I'm not worried about death. Are you worried about losing your job? Are you worried about your retirement money going down the tubes now that they brought interest rates down to the lowest level in years? Which is wonderful if you want a mortgage, but absolutely dreadful if you're trying to live on your investments. Are you worried about your kids? You see, the problem with losing your job is there's not a thing you can do about it. And the problem with your kids is once they get to a certain age, there's not a thing you can do about it. And the problem with your retirement investments is this, that if they decide to bring interest rates down, there's nothing you can do about it. You've arrived at the point of finitude. You're being confronted with your limitations. And that's what brings anxiety, and that's what strikes fear into people's hearts. What are you afraid of? What do you do with your fears? You take them to the throne of grace, for that's where you find help coping with fear.